Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm absolutely delighted to have members of the team from Action Tutoring here. Tutoring, as you know, is a fantastic opportunity for teachers to grow their own skills, to work with some students that really need help. And I think that's one thing that Action Tutoring are just doing so well. And I've been following them for a number of years now, and it's just incredible the work that they're doing in this field. And so I'm delighted to be here and to sort of introduce everyone. My name is Katie Stickley. I run Those Who Can, and we help teachers with their careers inside, outside, and beyond the classroom. And tutoring is one of those that sort of ticks all boxes, because you can tutor whilst you're teaching, you can just be a tutor, and you can leave. And we've got some people here who've retired and then gone into tutoring as well. So it's a whole host of things. But I'm going to introduce you to Lila to start with, so she can tell you a little bit about her background and her role in Action Tutoring.
Hi everyone, thanks so much for coming. So my name's Lila. I've worked at Action Tutoring for nearly 5 years and I'm part of the marketing team. I'm based down in Devon, and I trained to teach Spanish and French and did that for a few years, and also have quite a lot of experience in TEFL abroad. So my main focuses are encouraging people to get involved in tutoring with us. I'll pass to Brenda.
Thanks, Lila. I've also been at Action Tutoring about 5 years. I was a secondary school teacher, geography mainly, for about 26 years before stepping out of the classroom and working with Action Tutoring full time. But Lila and I both look at getting all sorts of people interested in volunteering with us and signed up as tutors. Can I pass to you, Wendy?
So I'm Wendy, and I'm recently retired as an assistant head teacher. I was head of sixth form and I was an English teacher, so for 22 years I taught English. I retired early and decided that I wanted to try some other things, but the one thing that I missed more than anything else was working with the students. And throughout the whole of my career, actually just being able to work one-to-one with students was always important. And so when I retired, I kind of thought about perhaps tutoring just myself and I could go out there and do it. But when I discovered Action Tutoring, it was a real way of being able to actually give something back properly. So I tutor at a secondary school in Birmingham. I've got 2 boys that are just coming up to their GCSEs, and it's been really rewarding just being able to work with those 2 students. But being a teacher as well, it's been useful because when there's been days when there's no other tutor in the room, they've put those other students with me, and it's no problem at all because I'm used to teaching 30 plus all the time. So it's only been since January, but it's been really rewarding.
And Nigel, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about your career?
Yes, hi. I'm finding it quite difficult because you're breaking up an awful lot, but I can just about hear most of what everyone's saying now. I'm a former teacher. I taught for 37 years in England, a couple of years in Australia. Primarily in the last few years, I was teaching English. So I retired about 5 years ago, just before COVID, and went and did a MA in creative writing, just sort of break. And I've missed teaching a little bit, so that's why I've enjoyed doing a little bit of tutoring privately, mentoring with the local council, with the children who are outside the education system, and with Action Tutoring, which I've done for about 18 months, something like that, and very much enjoyed it. So that's me.
Wonderful.
Great. Okay. Thanks so much for coming, Wendy and Nigel. I think so. The way we're going to run the session is that I'm going to talk for about 10 minutes roughly and give everyone a bit of a background about who Action Tutoring is, what we're all about, how we function, why we exist, and go into some details. And then I'll pass over to Nigel, Wendy and Brenda to have a chat about their experiences in school, teaching and tutoring, and any questions that anyone has as well. Please feel free to put them in the chat box at any time throughout the call. and then we'll base our discussion on any questions you might or comments that you might have as well. Great, cool. I think everyone can see my screen now. So at Action Tutoring, we're focused on supporting children from lower income families who are unfortunately less likely to achieve. I don't know if someone was speaking then, who unfortunately are less likely to achieve academically than their peers. And we're just all about leveling that playing field. I'm sure that those of you on the call who have teaching experience know that it's really unfortunate that you can see children from certain backgrounds unfortunately struggling, not because they're not able, but because they've got kind of harder life circumstances going on at home or whatever it might be. And a lot of children in the country in different environments can afford private tuition, which can be a great intervention for them. But we're really focused on helping those that wouldn't be able to afford that, and to help them get better grades, primarily to help get better grades at GCSE. So here's some lovely picture of our tutoring in progress. And some more of our children who we support. Okay, so a little bit more detail on why it is that we matter. Like I mentioned, we know that children from certain backgrounds with less money at home are not doing as well in school, but there are specific statistics that go into exactly how far behind they are. So at the moment, the statistics show that on average disadvantaged pupils are 19 months behind their non-disadvantaged peers by the end of secondary school. And the way that I like to kind of visualize this statistic is, imagine you were roughly 2 academic years behind where you had the potential to be. So it's like, you know, did you ever have those bad dreams where you were trying to prepare for exams and you woke up and you thought you had to sit an exam, but you weren't ready? It's kind of like that in reality, which is so sad that maybe you'd be working at your year 9 grade when you were in year 11. So you have a few years more potential with the right support. We'd love the second statistic to be different, because we've existed for roughly 12 years. I think we're coming on 13 years now. And we'd love to have been like, you know, we've solved it, job done. But unfortunately, especially due to COVID and financial cuts in schools and education in general, the education attainment gap in the UK is the widest that it has been in the last 12 years. And yeah, we want to change it. In 2024, just 44% of disadvantaged primary school pupils met their expected standards by the end of primary school. So they were going on to secondary school not at the grades that they need to be at. And 28% of pupils with low attainment at Key Stage 2, so at the end of primary, go on to achieve a pass in English and maths at GCSE. So essentially, I'm sure you all know, if you're not doing as well in primary school, you're probably going to not do as well by the end of secondary school as well. And that's why we work in both primary and secondary schools. So we're really, really passionate about our impact. We like to measure everything that we can do as best we can. Some of the ways that we do this are by the children who take part in tutoring, take part in a baseline test before they start the tutoring, and we use that test and kind of overlay it with our resources that have been made for us by teachers in the sector. We overlay the data from the areas that they haven't done so well in with our curriculum, and then encourage and support our tutors to focus on those areas that will make the most impact to their learning. And then we do assessments at the end as well. So some of the, and then we collect GCSE data and as much data as we can from primary schools as well. So the percentages in grey show all from the disadvantaged backgrounds nationwide and their pass rate at GCSE. And the green and blue show the disadvantaged pupils that have received 10 or more sessions with Action Tutoring, and that is the difference in how much more likely they are to pass their GCSE. So there is impact in terms of your help would make a great difference. And similar for primary here, we've got a much higher pass rate for those who work with us compared to those who aren't able to access our kind of support. So I'm sure that many of you already know how funny children can be, how entertaining it is to work with young people, that no day is the same, or even hour to hour is the same. And that's why a lot of you will have already taught. I know I'm kind of mid-swing, but it would be really interesting if anyone was able to write in the chat box exactly kind of where you're based or what your teaching experience up to this point has been. It's always nice to see where people are coming from. So I've got a short video for you to see our impact in the classroom and hear from some of the children and some of the teachers and tutors as well. Hopefully you'll be able to hear the sound. Let's see. Give me a thumbs up, Brenda. Yeah, great.
The score that I'll give my teacher is 100 out of 100. She's really nice and gives us good advice.
I'd like to say to her that she's doing great, because at the start of maths, I never used to be confident with maths, but now I'm like really good at maths and stuff.
It really helps and improves your writing, like your vocabulary, your reading, like most of the things that you do in English.
I found it very helpful because considering my grades weren't very high beforehand.
She's really kind. She helps quite a lot with my maths and all that.
I've seen grades shoot up, as well as my enjoyment and the confidence you build by talking to someone.
The score I'd give her out of 100 is definitely 100. The Action Tutoring has helped me a lot, actually, more than I realized as well. I'll be in my tests, and if I'm looking at a question, I'll be like, oh wait, I did this in my Action Tutoring.
It's helped me a lot to achieve my goals because I've seen my grades going higher and higher bit by bit.
I have a lot of exams coming up, so it just helps me to just like replenish my knowledge and helps me just get some practice in before I have to go through those exams. I like most of my tutors that I can have fun, I can be myself around him, and I just enjoy it very much.
What I would like to say to our tutors is thank you for your perseverance with our young people. It's always difficult to work with 14, 15, 16-year-olds who don't always see the final outcome of the hard work they're putting in. And what the tutors are brilliant at doing is making sure that the small gains that our young people get through the tutoring is matched over the academic year as they progress in their maths GCSEs.
I believe valuable, and I also.
Great. I think I'll just leave it there. Hopefully that was inspirational for everyone. I've watched this video a lot, but I always find it really heartwarming to hear from the children and the young people themselves talking about the difference it makes, especially that boy that said his grades shot up, like to be able to see that, that progress so quickly. So where are we? We are in a lot of the major cities in England. So we've got London, Bristol, Sussex, Brighton area, and the Midlands, Birmingham, Nottingham, Sheffield. And we've also got, I think, some schools in Derby, or we have done in the past. So that's an area that could have some options. Liverpool and up in Newcastle as well. But this is just the picture for now. We're always seeking to grow and take on more schools, because there are quite a lot of children in different areas who need our support. So this picture could change come September. And if you're not based in one of those cities, we really encourage people to get involved with online tutoring as well. I'm not 100% if Wendy or Nigel have online experience, but we can speak about that in the Q&A at the end, that we're able to reach a lot of children in areas where it's just hard to find a lot of volunteers. I know that around more rural coastal areas, it's just, hard to find enough people to go. So we really appreciate people who are willing to do it online, and we've got an online platform that's very well integrated with all our resources for people to use who would be interested in that. So we're really proud that we are a well-established charity who works with quite a number of children and volunteers each year. So we feel quite confident that we're able to support our volunteers to do the best they can and to have a chat about how it's going and to have resources that are effective and programs that are well run. So we worked with, I think it's nearly 6,000 children last year, roughly even split between primary and secondary in around 148 schools, over 60,000 hours of tutoring from nearly, I'd say, yeah, the best part of 2,000 volunteers. So we're really, really proud of those figures, of which Nigel and Wendy make up some of those numbers as well, I'm sure. So we support children in year 5 and 6 in primary school to help them get to expected standards by the time they end primary school. We support children in year 7, though they're doing the primary curriculum. They don't know they're doing the primary curriculum. It's kind of covered and says year 7 special resources, but for them, it's children who have been identified by their secondary school or by their primary school as they're leaving to say, they're really not where they need to be. Can they have any extra intervention to get them up and ready to really take part in secondary? And then we've got our year 10s and 11s who we're aiming to get the best GCSE grade that they possibly can. We support those at GCSE level who are working just below age-related expectations. So basically those who are at the cusp of potentially not passing their GCSE, or if they are only predicted a 4, so they're only predicted a pass, and we want to try and get them to that secure pass, because obviously predictions don't always happen in reality, and that's our main focus really, is to get them over that hurdle to either a pass or a better pass. We primarily work with pupils who are eligible for pupil premium funding, or who the school have identified are disadvantaged in other ways. And we partner very closely with the schools to monitor engagement and I was going to say performance then, but not really. Well, how they're getting on, if they're enjoying it, if they're coming to sessions, and how it's going. So nearly over from me. Just give you a little overview of how it works. So each session is only 1 hour long. So it's a really nice kind of low commitment way, as if, like Wendy said, and Nigel, I guess, if you're missing that kind of contact time with young people and you're missing the teaching aspect without all of the admin and all of the meetings and planning and extra things, it's a really nice way to just get involved just for an hour a week. You get all of the lesson plans. Your students are chosen to work with each other. So we do support roughly 2 pupils per tutor. The reason for that is that obviously sometimes children are out off sick or have school trips or things that are going on, and also it's quite nice for you to know that there's always going to be 1 pupil there. But in addition, it's quite nice for some young people who are quite nervous about meeting an adult they don't know, even if it is online rather than in person or whatever. It's quite a big deal. So to have a peer there with them can be quite nice if they work well together. And we do ask the school to put quite a lot of thought into the pairings as best they can to make sure that it would be pairs that work at roughly the same level and who get on with each other more or less. So we offer maths or English, as you all know. These are the 2 subjects. If you're really not doing well at one of these, it's going to have a knock-on effect across the board to all the other subjects. So those are our 2 main focuses, and you could do both or one or the other. I know that there are some magical people who can do both. I've met a few of them. I'm not one of them. I've definitely English, but I've tried to kind of up my maths to do primary maths as well over the years of working with Action Tutoring. Okay, and yeah, you do commit for roughly a school term, as you know. Helping for an extended period of time helps you to see progression and build that rapport and relationship. The hour session that you choose is at the same time and day each week. So you would look through a very long list. Well, if it's September, it would be quite long. Right now, it might be a little bit shorter, but we do still need some help between now and the end of this academic year. So if you wanted to come on board now, it's a nice way to commit without having to commit for a longer period of time. And let me just see. Yeah, sessions run roughly just before the school day starts at 8 a.m. All throughout the day. Some sessions run at lunchtime and some of them run just as school finishes. So the latest one would be about 3:30 to 4:30, Monday to Friday. And I don't need to go into detail on eligibility, as if most of you have taught already, then I'm presuming you already have a degree and a PGC and years of experience in the classroom. But just so you know, in terms of our quality assurance, because we have a lot of volunteers who haven't taught in the past and who come on and train with us, we ask them to either be studying towards a degree or have one already, including an A-level or A-level equivalent qualification from their country, in maths or English, or a subject that's very related to maths or English, and a commitment to supporting pupils' progress and enthusiasm. So we support with online training, a dedicated member of staff who's always with you if you're doing it in person, and if not doing it in person, they are with the children doing it online from school. So they're very well tapped in. If anything was going on online, you're not left alone. You have a phone, someone to ring and talk about how it's going, or so and so hasn't turned up. It's very well monitored. We make all the resources, as I mentioned, and we're also happy to pay for a DBS check and help you with that if you don't have one already. If you've got one already, send it over, and then hopefully it's child workforce and enhanced, and then you can just get started sooner. So the next step is essentially ask us any questions that you might have at all. Now I'm going to pass over to the others to have a chat. I'm sure that Katie will send out our link to our application form on our website, and also we'll make sure that we'll give you an email address, Katie, for anybody who wants to email us directly with any questions after the call. And yeah, thanks so much for coming or watching. I know it's being recorded, so maybe you're watching on YouTube in months to come. And yeah, do feel free to get in touch if you have any other questions. I think I've got a little, some thank you cards, pictures from some of the children at the end of their sessions there. So yeah, happy to stop sharing now, Katie, and then pass over to Brenda.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thanks, Lila. Thanks, Katie. I think we might have lost Nigel. I know his internet was dipping in and out a little bit. So, Wendy, it's you and me to have a little bit of a chat about tutoring with us. And anyone who's on live, if you've got questions to pop in the chat, please do that while I ask Wendy to just tell us, as a former teacher, why would you recommend tutoring with Action Tutoring?
I think the main thing is when you leave teaching, people joke around it saying, oh, you're going to have all this free time, and there's so much stress and aggravation involved in teaching that you do kind of get involved in that idea that, oh, great, I've got all this free time now. But you find yourself missing certain elements of it that you can't find anywhere else. So actually what's really interesting about doing this is still keeping in touch with the reasons why I became a teacher in the first place. I wanted to help my students, and there was nothing better than getting their results and seeing that what you had done had an impact. So suddenly you're in a situation where you're going into a place like I'd never been to this school before, so I'm going into a school I've not been to before, meeting new students and getting their trust in you as well. And it's all those skills that you've developed over the years that they just automatically click in. So I think that's one of the most exciting parts about it, really. And you are making a difference. And because it's all tested, you're seeing it as we go along. I mean, I started in January. They've had 2 sets of mocks since then, and they've improved, the 2 boys I'm coaching. So you can see results straight away.
That's wonderful. Thanks very much. Can you tell us a little bit, perhaps, I think you tutor face-to-face, is that right?
Yeah.
So I'm really interested in how you see the sort of interactions with the link teachers, with the other tutors, as well as with the children.
It's really nice, actually. The way that it's all set up, you've got somebody who is there all the time. So it works with the school as well. So we have the person from Action Tutoring, and we have the lead teacher from the school as well. We're over 2 classrooms. We do maths and English at the same time. It's just before lunch, and the students have been taken out of PE, so that could cause a bit of a problem. But most of the time, what I observed was that the students come in, they're so respectful that they come straight in, they're getting straight on with it. And to be honest, that didn't always happen in a classroom. So it's really good to see these children who perhaps maybe misbehave in a room full of other people. They haven't got that distraction now. So even though there are lots of other people going on, it's usually around 5 or 6 other tables are going. Everyone's focused on what they're doing, and you're teaching for that full hour, really. And I think the resources that we're given as well really help to keep the momentum going. And the students do take ownership. So with the 2 boys that I've got, every time I then stop talking and say, right, now it's your turn to have a go, they just get straight on with it. And I'm sitting there thinking, this is always my good lessons, this was. So it's really interesting to see just on that small scale how it really works.
Yeah, and I think that's the power of small group tutoring, isn't it? As well as, the children responding to being in a small group and having the attention perhaps that they need. Just in case there's anyone sort of watching, Wendy, I don't think you've done online tutoring, is that right?
Not with Action Tutoring. Obviously, during COVID, we did live online teaching at my school. And when there was that choice between the 2, I did want to do secondary school, not primary, if I'm honest. And I did prefer the idea of face-to-face, just so it was getting me out of the house, if I'm honest. Because the one thing I did find about lockdown was that isolation, and trying to talk to my students on camera. That was difficult because the things our school put into place, so that we didn't have our cameras on, because most people were at home doing it. But I actually went into school and worked in my office, and it was hard because the students didn't have their cameras either. So you're just talking to voices, and that was strange. So I think the online tutoring it's obviously much better with yourselves because it is camera, and so it is face to face.
That's right.
Yeah, I did prefer the idea of going into the school.
Going in. That's fair enough. Just for anyone thinking about tutoring online with us, because you're not in one of our hubs and so on, it's definitely cameras on for you and the children, and lots of interaction, and the resources are definitely built around that sort of interaction, icebreakers and so on, in the same way that the face-to-face resources are. And just a sort of little anecdote from me. I used to be a program coordinator, started a program in a school that were dead set on face-to-face, but they wanted to start so quickly. We knew it was going to take a little bit of time to recruit face-to-face tutors in that area for that school. And they were persuaded in the end to try online for a short period of time while we did that face-to-face recruitment. It was during a time when people were a bit more reluctant to go into schools, coming out of lockdowns. And the engagement from the children online was spectacularly good. They were the link teacher was bringing class teachers and all sorts of people from the school staff into the room, saying, look, this child is talking to the tutor. They never talk in class because they're surrounded by 30 other children. This child is working on their maths and enjoying it and reading out loud, and all sorts of really great things that were happening with these children that they were very surprised about. And the engagement was so good, they never went to face-to-face tutoring after all. And in our impact report, which you can see on our website, it actually shows that our online programs have the same impact. as our face-to-face programs, and that really surprised me as a former teacher. And I really thought that the in-person tutoring would have a much greater impact, and that wasn't what we found in our data. So it is possible to do great things online as well, with the right materials, the right people, and the right support, and the program coordinators that you get to support you in each program are just fantastic. One last thing from me then, Wendy, a highlight of tutoring with us to do with the pupils perhaps, or something that really sort of sticks out as something really special, an impact perhaps that you've seen?
I think it's hard to pick one thing really, because it has been, as I said, it's only been since January, but it's been a really enjoyable experience. There was one day where I went along and the tutor had called in, they couldn't come in, so there was 3 other students who needed to be taught, and so I just took all 5 then, and I was just teaching them as normal. And to then get told afterwards that like people were watching and listening, I'm thinking this is really great. To me, it was normal because I'm a teacher and that's what I do. But the other people on in my group, they're not teachers. They've come from businesses and all over to do the tutoring. So they're kind of listening and have been amazed that I could teach 5 children in one go. So I think that was kind of interesting that we've got people from outside of teaching wanting to do this and actually making a really good job of it as well. Because I think the resources that we're given are so good. Because, from my perspective, I'm so used to creating my resources and things like that. So to have them tailor-made was excellent. I've just started my master's degree in Victorian Gothic. And ironically, one of the texts that we were using for the language paper was a text I'd just read for my degree. And I was saying to the boys, oh, I'm doing a degree and I've just read this. And you could see almost them going, oh, so it's not rubbish that we're reading. This is really good stuff. So I think, again, the resources that we're given are so helpful to be able to manage and decide what you're going to actually teach them.
Yeah, that's great. Lovely to hear those sorts of real life examples and so on. Right, thanks so much, Wendy, for being here. Katie, I'll pass back to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Wendy. It's really lovely just to hear someone who's doing it. And I think, there's that nice balance, isn't there, that you are doing it for the students. That's a lovely sort of focus to really help those students who are struggling. And the statistics that Lila shared with us earlier, just, they speak volumes. But actually as an individual as well, like we go into teaching to help, don't we? And I think you've just explained it beautifully, how it works so nicely with your work-life balance and what you need for yourself. And I think, for teachers, it's really hard for us just to stop teaching and that's it, switch off. And I think it's really bad for our brains as well. So
totally.
Keeping that sort of foot in the door and, helping people at the same time, it's wonderful. So, really hats off to you, Wendy, for what you're doing. And thank you for sharing your experiences today. And if you want to get in touch with Action Tutoring, I would definitely give everyone the links, because it's worth just having a conversation, even if you're a bit unsure about whether you could teach maths or English because your discipline might be something else. Just have a chat with them. The more you ask questions, the more they'll know. And Wendy's already said you've got people from all sorts of careers tutoring, so that are not specialists in those areas. So you're already like way past that line, having taught children before and having all those skills. So even if your discipline is in something else, it's worth having a chat, isn't it, Lila?
Yes, absolutely. Do get in touch with us. And just in addition to that, it's quite nice just to meet people from different backgrounds. I think, it's there aren't many contexts in life where you get to be in a room with like a lawyer, an engineer, I don't know, Charlie, who's a student, and someone who's retired, and then you are a teacher. And there's a real mix of like ages and different backgrounds, and you never know what what could come from making those relationships as well.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think it's such a rich context, isn't it? And it's definitely something that I enjoy. And we have a question here from Joanna, who says, I'd love to be involved remotely since I'm up north. So that's definitely an option. She's based in Scotland. Potentially you might sort of end up having hubs in Scotland as well. I'm sure you're working on that all the time as a company, aren't you, of building up more hubs. How could Joanna get involved with this at the moment as a remote teacher?
It would be remotely to begin with. Newcastle is our northernmost hub, and because there are different curriculum in Scotland compared to England, that's why we're not going north of the border for the foreseeable future. But online is has worked. We have all sorts of tutors in Scotland, from corporate world, retirees, and from a variety of universities as well. So it's quite a mix. The people that you might meet that are also from the same sort of area as you even. But yeah, online would be the option for the moment.
Excellent. Yeah, good to know. Good to know. So, anyone can get involved, and I do urge you to find out a bit more information. It's been lovely having this webinar and really sort of understanding a bit more about the charity as a whole and the great work that you're doing. And I can't thank Wendy enough for giving up her time for this, because hearing directly from the people that are volunteering is just invaluable. So, thank you all so much for joining us. I will send all the links out, and take care. Have a lovely day.